Well, rising family, we are back at it once again. Well-being to you all, well living, high vibrations, awesome manifestations, great wealth, great prosperity, awesome sense of groundedness and purpose, alignment, and all of those other wonderful, great, awesome, majestic things. Wishing upon yourself, knowing and actualizing on your daily path. How y'all doing? Good. So today, very briefly, I'm going to talk about shadow work, the ins and outs, why it is important, how it works, and what it can do for you. And so getting right into it, when we talk about shadow work, we essentially are talking about dealing with the aspects of ourselves that we deny, that we have left behind, the aspects of ourselves that we really just need to work on to make sure we are not triggered by our environment, by our friends and family, by coworkers, by whatever it is that we are engaging ourselves in, to make sure that we are in an optimal energetic space, where we are in an optimal emotional space, where we are operating from the core of our being and operating from that centered space of ourselves, and not operating out of the limitations of our frail ego, or the limitations of the things that we have done to manage our fragile human body without honoring the processes of our soul expression, and essentially bridging the gap between those things as they exist in our daily life. And so when we deal with shadow work, of course, though, traditionally, we're talking about some of the more monumental events, the more monumentous events that take place in our life that really can cause us potential harm for our identity. You know, they really can give us shifts in how we behave, how we perceive ourselves. They affect our esteem. They affect our self-worth. They affect our choices in life. You know, they affect our friends and family associations. They affect our personal identity, sexuality, all of it. Really, many of us could be out here where we simply know we are one way in how we present ourselves to the world, but deep down inside, we wish we were somebody else. Or deep down inside, we're actually, living that double life right now because we're terrified to actually be the full expression of our own self. And so, for those of us who are willing and able to align ourselves, or do the work to align ourselves, to be fully authentic, to be fully present, to be fully available for our best interests, our best expression, we have to do this shadow work. We have to do the self-healing so that we can maintain a high energetic space, so that we are staying true to ourselves. And so we're dealing with the shadow, of course, though. Intrinsically, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is, of course, face your problems. On a very basic surface level, you can engage your problems just on your daily life, and whatever is working on, whatever you're working on, working through, go inside of yourself in meditation. Ask yourself the who's, what's, when's, why's, and where's, and ask it in a peaceful manner, a non-engaging of the ego manner, a non-emotional manner. You literally examining yourself, examining your situations, and allowing your inner self, your higher self, that part of yourself to give you the answers, as opposed to dialoguing extensively with your intellect. Of course, that's just the basic level stuff for your processing. But the big stuff, we're actually talking about who we are. The big stuff is about our deep concerns in life. The big stuff is these things that continue to trigger us to where we put ourselves back into an emotional state of quandary, of fear, of sadness, of hurt, of anger, of confusion, of whatever, just in direct response to something that happened to us that actually isn't dealing with the now. Easy way of saying it, you see something and it throws you all in your emotions, and you feel in all some kind of way, and whatever is happening to you, it doesn't even directly deal with the situation at hand. You just messed up because you are dealing with a shadow part of yourself. You are dealing with an aspect of yourself that has never been dealt with. So when you see it out in the world on somebody else, when you see it out in the world potentially coming in your direction, not even coming in your direction, you and your ego body will jump on the shadow, and you respond with the emotional recoil. You respond with the, the anger, the fear, the resistance, the whatever, and you do not put yourself in the space of power, in the seat of power. And so these things deeply affect us, and they can really reroute how we see ourselves. I'm going to give you actually a primary example, doing this as a part of the continuum of how I share, via social media, things of that nature. I like to put out real practice and not just empty words, so to speak. That's why I did this video and other types of videos where I kind of break down these cliched terms where they say, oh, you need to do shadow work. Well, this is what it means. In a direct reflection of myself doing shadow work, I actually had to deal with a trigger of my own self-esteem. I wrestle at times, or I've had wrestled with different parts or phases in life, wrestled with low self-esteem. And as I came to do my last bit of shadow work, of course, I ultimately realized that this low self-esteem, of course, one is being a phantom and not real from where it came from. But more importantly, I realized how the low self-esteem was affecting my decision making. I was making very, very unsavory decisions where it simply made my logistical situation even more complicated, or my love situation even more complicated, or made, my self-expression more complicated. And it helped reinforce a false notion that I'm either not worthy or not loved, things of that nature. The biggest part being not worthy, and because I was feeling low self-esteem and being not worthy, it actually ended up messing up, my magic, my manifestations, the things that I could potentially possibly create in the real world. And of course, that's how it works for everyone. But again, as far as your personal analysis, you have to find whatever your trigger is, whatever's tucked away in your shadow that acts as a bottleneck for your energy to be in that balanced vibrational state. So for me, like I say, it's really done with low self-esteem. That's one of the biggest parts of my shadow that caused me to lower myself so I'm not vibrating high enough to be in my right state of mind, so to speak. And so dealing with this, though, like I say, when we talk about our shadow and doing shadow work, we have to be able to locate aspects within our shadow that are the trigger. If you're triggered by something, if something brings you emotional distress, emotional harm, that means it is attached to some person, place, event, or thing that actually happened to you. And out of that person, place, event, or thing that happened to you, you have put a memory marker on your brain and an emotional marker on your aura, to where if anything that replicates that looks like it, that feels like it, your body goes into basically like a protective shield or a protective manner or protective mode of itself. And it basically tries to tell you that you're in danger. It basically tries to tell you that you're in harm. It tries to tell you that something is coming your way and you need to move. You need to move out of the way. And so our ego, of course, it's a basic protective device for our body. So it does, in essence, do its job, but in the process of it's doing its job, it's overactive or it's malfunctioning. And it's malfunctioning now because it is setting off alarms of hurt, alarms of distress, alarms of you need to move, when there's actually nothing even coming your way. And this is a part of the tricks that the shadow can play on you. As I said before, it takes you out of your right mind, it takes you out of your high vibration, because all of us have a basic alignment for who we are. Once as we come and we incarnate into this dimension, we have a basic signature, our basic vibration upon ourselves, which can be a great influence or a great help on how we manifest and move through the world. And as we go through life, through the basic protections of maintaining life, maintaining your humanness, you get told no, stop, don't. These no, stop, don'ts, as they pertain to just your basic protection, they do in turn become your emotional and mental prison. These limitations that are given to us for our protection, ultimately, if not undressed or not dealt with properly, they do become the actual emotional and mental limits that we put on ourselves and our capabilities. And once we put these limits on ourselves and our capabilities, that's what opens up the gap of difference between our unlimited potential and our unlimited self versus our humanness in the now. And so as we wrestle with the humanness in the now versus our potential, those no, stops, and don'ts, if the no, stop, and don't is big enough, huge enough, triggering enough, emotional enough, that no, stop, don't will cause us to, like I say, move. And those movements now from that no, stop, don't place are movements that are no longer from our authentic vibration or expression. They're movements where we're moving out of the way of what we perceived as danger, and we're now moving accordingly to the outside stimulus, as opposed to the inner will. And so as we make choices through life where we are simply trying to protect ourselves, one, in a basic human right, but like I say, more on the shadow, more of an overreaction or an over attachment to something that was never really that big of a deal, ultimately, we begin to fracture our identity. We begin to move in certain ways that aren't authentic to us. So once we begin to move in ways that are outside of what we are essentially aligned or purposed ourselves to be before that movement, we then create these energy depletions. We create these holes in our aura. We create these different gaps between our potential and our actual. And whenever those gaps continue to exist, the pull and the stress and all of the negativity and all of the low vibration that comes between those gaps, those things get dumped into the shadow. Those things get dumped into the aspects that you literally can't physically see on somebody's face. That's why they say somebody might be cute, but what is on their mind? Or what is in their heart? What is in their being? And essentially, people can just be considered in one of two ways. Someone who's operating from the center of their being and someone who's not. And as far as the varying degrees of how far you are or are not from your center. And so with the shadow work, we do go back to the people, places, events, and things where all of the stops, no's, and don'ts, where all of those hurts, where all of those over attachments to associations of peoples and places of things, where we simply started to become and see ourselves as different. We go back to those moments and then we address them and we rearrange our attachment to the memory. We rearrange the emotional appeal, our emotional attachment that we have to something that simply needs to be changed one way or the other. And so directly, as I say, engaging myself with shadow work, as I did it all continuously. For those who do follow me closely on my social medias, on my Facebook, which is Pharaoh Brown, I actually directly engaged or did an exercise in shadow work in public. And of course, in doing it in public, you have to, because changing or rearranging yourself, you have to do actual physical things in real time. So there is a continuum of doing inner work and meditation and looking inside yourself and asking yourself those who's, what's, when's, where's, and why's, as I stated earlier. But also, you do have to go and address the world after you get the answers to those questions, meaning your aura, your higher self is going to tell you, do X, Y, and Z, or face this, that, and the third, or go over here or there to change how you feel about something, to get a different reaction out of the thing that you have been dealing with. And so after you do your meditation, you do have to go out into the world and go do something and go be that. And so for me, dealing with, like I said, my self-esteem, I realized I had to do some work when I realized that I was triggered by something that I didn't even know what was really going on. I can't even really remember directly what triggered me directly, but I do know that it put me back in my feelings. And once I was back in my feelings, I finally said, you know what, let me look at this thing because I'm feeling low, I'm feeling distressed, I'm feeling all unloved. And for what? Like, why? Nothing even really happened, but I am swimming deep in these feelings right now. So when I found myself even being able to have the wherewithal to analyze, I took that same energy, I took that same feeling, took this same, what the heck, this same lowliness, all of that. I took that feeling and then I literally turned my intention within. I literally looked inside of myself. And upon doing that, I asked myself, Ahmad, what the heck is going on, my friend? Why are you feeling like this? Why are you beating yourself up? And why are you doing it over something that didn't even happen or is not even really affecting you right now? And so as I was sitting and resting upon that, I got a key to the symbol for the low self-esteem. And crazy enough, a good symbol that it was giving me was dealing with a celebrity being Don Cheadle. Dealing with the whole low self-esteem thing, you know, was really just dealing with an aspect of feeling unattractive, you know, feeling as a substandard level of attractiveness, whatever that might be. So as I wrestled with that, I realized that I had a shadow moment where I was emotionally stuck on something that happened before. I remember being a part of, you know, just some internet challenge where they do celebrity challenges, who you look like, da-da-da-da-da. This is years ago. And as I submitted myself into it, I got a strong response saying that I look like Don Cheadle. And I do remember that when that happened, it definitely stuck on my aura, because that was a moment where I convinced myself that I was ugly or unattractive. Reason being is because, again, the whole Don Cheadle, people's like, oh, you look like Don Cheadle, you look like Don Cheadle. So in my view, in my opinion, he is unattractive. He is not very attractive at all, actually. I would consider him ugly, yeah, things of that nature. So when people, you know, put that on me that I look like him, it then gave me the complex that, oh crap, I'm freaking ugly. Like, these people literally are looking at, you know, the ugly black male celebrity. Like, dang, yo, that's the mold that people see me in. Like, no wonder I'm not getting the response I think I should have, yada, yada, yada. So because of, you know, that response, I then, like I said, filtered all of my other angst, all of my other distresses, all of my other feelings of low self-esteem, of this, that, and the other, unwanted, unloved, blah, 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 blah. All of the other things that have ever happened about that, I dumped all of those energies and memories and attachments into the symbol of that celebrity. So I actually gave myself not just a energy piece for the shadow, but I really created an energy vacuum, or what they would call like a demon. And not in the sense of like an intelligence or something that you could use, really something that was haunting me, really something that was causing me a friction, causing me an emotional harm or distress. And so, because I realized, of course, out of the meditation, that I simply had created this energetic rallying point for negativity, in doing shadow work, you have to actually engage it directly. You know, it's almost like the you know, the different mythologies, like they say they have the Minotaur in the maze. You know, you're thrown in the maze in the dark and you're supposed to come out on the other side, but there's this Minotaur in the maze, and it's a monster that's out to get you and destroy you. And before you could even exit the maze, before the maze is even opened, you have to kill the Minotaur first. And then after the Minotaur's killed, then you gotta find the exit. That Minotaur mythology is literally talking about us and our minds, and how we have the maze of our mental emotional space, and inside of that maze of our mental emotional space, we got creatures and monsters that are out to get us. But crazy enough, these creatures and monsters that are out to get us, they're not some actual monster. They're literally the parts of ourselves that we have told ourselves where we are unwanted or unloved, where we have distanced ourselves from ourselves. And so these aspects of these monsters that are out to get us, they are literally just trying to reattach themselves to us in a whole and balanced state. There is no separation from our own selves other than what we create. And so out of our bad associations of creating these things where we feel we have to make distance, we actually have to do the work of bringing it back together. We have to go into the maze and the labyrinth of our own mind and our emotional structure and emotional complex, and literally go and seek out the monster, go and seek out the thing that we have created. And so in doing so, I actually created a Facebook post. And in the Facebook post, I mocked my monster. I mocked myself. I put a dualistic picture up of me and Don Cheadle, and I just put it out there what, again, my monster thoughts were thinking was like, yo, this dude is ugly. And out of that, I said, you know what? I'm ready to accept the fact that I look like Don Cheadle. And you know what? He ugly. I am ugly too. And that's where we at with it. What y'all got? And I put it all out on Facebook and had, you know, put myself under the willingness to be under people's behest, to be under the response of other folk. And as it be as it may, as it always works for people who have done anything spiritual work, or not even, you don't have to say directly spiritual, for people who have gone and addressed the fear, who've gone and addressed the monster, who've gone and went to the threshold of something that they were once afraid of or didn't know how to get through. Once I put that info out there, once I put the mocking of myself, the, oh, bro, you ugly, da-da-da-da-da, out there, once I undressed that demon, the response I got affirmed what the truth of the matter was, that I'm not ugly, that I'm not unloved, that I am not unappreciative, things of that nature. I got a flood of attention, a flood of responses, a flood of affirmations, from what in my previous form of thoughts or attachments to old memories would come from, the women who I would think not like me, the women who I would feel are out of my league or things of that nature. All of basically those phantoms of, telling myself, for any time something didn't go my way, all of the times where I just dumped that energy into that symbol, all of the type of people who formerly I would have allowed, for me to falsely think are automatically gonna treat me in the same way, are going to, put more fuel to that same false fire. Those type of people showed up and affirmed the opposite. They let me see that basically what I thought was bad was actually not so bad. It puts you back into the state of being where you realize there's no need for you to get too high or to get too low. Things are not nearly as bad as they seem. All of those type of things put me back into a space to where energetically I can see myself for truly what I am. And more specifically, one for myself, but also for how the world works and how this 3D experience works, put me back into the space that everything isn't for everybody. If there's any reason for me to be rejected or feeling unloved by anyone, that's not because I'm quote unquote ugly, or not because I'm unwanted, or because I'm unloved. It is because everything simply isn't for everybody. Everybody's made in a particular way. Everybody got their own flavors. Everybody got their own preferences. Everybody got their own lane. And so in the process of living and expressing yourself, you live and express yourself out of your lane, out of the trueness of your expression, out of the trueness of your personal authenticity. And as you do so and live out of that space, you will travel along your life path to where you will meet people who will affirm your authenticity, who will be able to see the complete beauty of who you are, both internally and externally. And they will continue to raise you up in a way to where this same wholeness, balance, the sense of being wanted, loved, being blessed, being able to manifest, being able to continue on a path of excellence, you can further along that direction. And that's, again, a part of the whole continuum of energetically releasing yourself from the things that slow you down, energetically releasing yourself from those bad mental, emotional associations, because one, they don't really exist, they're phantoms, and then two, the only reason why they may possibly exist is because one, we are attached to them, but then two, physically, or out in the world, we are logistically putting ourselves in the position to affirm the lack. We are basically out of pocket. We are out of place. We are not in our lane. And so all we have to do is the inner work to get ourselves back into the expression of our inner lane. We have to go and put ourselves back out there into the world in a way that honors what we truly are. And if, again, we're doing direct shadow work, we have to face the demon. We have to literally step out and directly engage what we think is a problem, directly engage whatever is bothering us, directly engage that thing to where we can defeat it. The only way that it can be defeated, like I say in my direct example of low self-esteem, is to be able to see in real time other humans reacting to me in a way that is different than the false expectation that I got. Once I actually did the work inside to say, hey, it's not true, and then went outside and then got it affirmed, the bridge was gapped. Energetically, raised my emotions. Physically, feeling way better. Manifestingly, feeling way more energized to go do the thing or things that I'm working on. in the direct continuum, it helped me make this video that I'm sharing with you all, one for my own self, but then again, like I say, for the continuum of my life path and choice, to where I like doing all of this spiritual stuff and sharing it with y'all. And so breaking down this whole, again, aspect of shadow work, to just bring it full circle again, to just bring it all home, doing shadow work is paramount for yourself. You want to be true, full, and authentic to your core being. And through life, you can come upon people, places, or things that won't affirm that. And if you make the mistake of believing the false affirmation, you simply create energetic gaps, you create energetic pulls, energetic low points that will simply affect your daily life, your choices, how you see yourself, the type of people you find yourself around, and all of the things that really make up your actual social, physical life. And so if you choose to do the work, to literally look within yourself and discuss with yourself those low points, discuss with yourself those phantoms of memories, discuss with yourself those old memories that still keep springing up for some odd reason, those songs that'll play in your head that make you sad, you know, when you see, you know, if you know you're alone and you see that couple over there looking happy and it brings a sting to your chest and you're like, oh, instead of you feeling happy, whatever it is, that when you see it out in the world and it causes you emotional distress, it causes you recoil, causes you harm, it causes you some type of lowliness, whatever that is, do not just continue to allow it to cause you that. Do the work of asking yourself who, what, when, where, and why I'm having that response. Listen to your inner self to know what that is, and then go and do actual physical things, whether they're small or large, to help address the false notion that you have in your head. That is shadow work. Love y'all.